it was really important that we like make it for everybody and make it so that like you could walk in off the street, know nothing, and walk out going, "Oh, that's really cool. Should I play D&D? I didn't think that was like something I was ever going to do, but I think I might play D&D." You know?
Oh my gosh, I love this movie so much.
Awesome.
I'm a huge D&D fan, and this like completely captures exactly what made me fall in love with it. So I love it.
That's awesome. That makes me so happy to hear, Caitlin. That makes me so happy to hear. That is the only goal when you're adapting something is to figure out what makes it tick, figure out what makes people who are hardcore love it, figure out what makes the casual player love it, and then try to capture that spirit and bring it to the film, like to the screen. That is the goal. Like that is the ultimate goal. So to hear that we did it for you, like that makes me happy. So thank you for sharing that. That's awesome.
One of the things I love is that the found family dynamic is built on a platonic relationship because I feel like we don't see that enough in movies or TV. Why did that make sense as the key relationship? And what was the most fun part of that dynamic between Michelle and Chris?
You know, it was really early on. It was something that John and Jonathan really gravitated towards early in the scripting process. They were like, there is no chemistry. Like they are just friends. It is purely a platonic relationship. We don't see enough of those in movies. And you know, as you think back on it, like it's really true. Like you never really see people just be friends that are of opposite sex. Like it's always got to have a do they, don't they, or will they, won't they, underscoring it. And it kind of changes all of that dynamics, you know? And so to have a relationship between these two people where they're both hurt, they've both been in long relationships. His wife obviously passed away. Her husband obviously divorced her for a taller, even huskier barbarian. It's heartbreaking, and so it was really fun watching that friendship blossom. And I think Chris and Michelle are really different people. Like they don't really make any sense together, and but because of that, they really do. Like they really click, and they bring such different like life views to the world. And I don't know, like you can't help but just fall in love with the two of them together on screen, and it's just a great relationship. Like they're really cool together. And so I look, I think it's a lot of it's the writing. Like the John and Jonathan's writing is so strong. They're incredible writers. A lot of it's the direction, and a lot of it's that cast. Like they found the right people, and it's interesting when you look back at the way a movie comes together because the casting process is so weird on a movie. You know, you write it, you start putting it together, and it's completely different when it's the so and so and so and so version of the film. And
Yeah.
then you look back and you go, "Oh my God, I'm so happy the so and so version of the film never came to fruition because I don't think it would be what this is." And you end up finding somehow, you know, if the movie gods smile on you, you end up finding the right cast. And that's I've been fortunate that that's happened to me a bunch over the years where like you just like find the right cast. And I think here, like, boy, did we find the right cast. They're great together.
Oh, I totally agree. Like that is one of my favorite relationships I've seen in a movie in a really long time.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
How closely did you guys work with Wizards of the Coast, especially when incorporating details from like the Forgotten Realms and visual elements of the D&D world into this movie?
We worked really closely with the Wizards of the Coast. Jeremy Jarvis and Nathan Stewart were like our two main conduits into Wizards world. And they were great stewards of the brand, and they were great collaborators. You know, it was a tricky line because the thing is, we had to make a movie that was going to work for fans, but at the end of the day, we had to make a movie that was going to work for everybody. You know, that literally could work for someone who's never played the game, who's never seen the game. And that's where like I kind of come in and be helpful because I had never played the game. I'd never really been involved in the game. And that is not an unusual position for me. I had not been I'd never read an Iron Man comic before I worked on Iron Man 1. I'd never read a Guardians comic before I worked on Guardians. I had never really read Spider-Man much before I worked on Spider-Man, which is like sacrilege because he's freaking Spider-Man. And by then I've been at Marvel for 15 years or for 14 years by the time I made that film. And so it's kind of crazy. But I always had this notion of like, I come to it and I bring like the every person perspective. And I never want to be too close that I'm like a fanboy who's like loses perspective and goes, it has to be this way. And you go, well, I don't understand that. Like I'm just a mom in Omaha. Like this isn't for me. What's going on in this movie? I have no idea what's happening. So it's really important that we like make it for everybody and make it so that like you could walk in off the street, know nothing, and walk out going, "Oh, that's really cool. Should I play D&D? I didn't think that was like something I was ever going to do, but I think I might play D&D." You know, and so it's like that collaboration with Wizards was incredibly important because it made it all true and it made it all right and it made it all accurate. And they also just had great ideas. Like it was really important to them that the city feels lived in, that everything feels like it'd been there for a long time, that it felt like you could feel a civilization that existed underneath it. So when you look at like some of the wide shots of Neverwinter, you can see like different eras when stuff was built, you know, and it really captures like this history of the universe. But it was they were great to work with. They sometimes gave us a hard time about making the dragon too chunky, which we just kind of said, trust us, like it's going to be fun. The fatter he is, the better he is. I promise. Like you're gonna like him. It's not fat shaming. Where no one is out to fat shame Thundershot. Like he's a ferocious guy who likes to eat a lot of people and other things too. Like he eats at whatever comes his way. But I think it was like a fun line to walk there of like, no, it's not. We're not making fun of Thundershot. We're scared of him. Like he's not the object of derision in any capacity, and which was kind of fun.
One of the times I saw it with a friend of mine and her kids, and they loved the dragon. It was so much fun how excited they were by the dragon.
That's awesome. That's awesome. He's great. I mean, look at this little guy. Like he's so big and chubby. He's so fun. I love him. My daughter's obsessed.
Yeah. And I love how, like, you were talking about how lived in the world feels because you introduce all these characters and storylines with the Red Wizards of Thay, the Emerald Enclave, the Harpers. Are there any that you would have wanted to maybe touch on more in the movie or that you'd want to explore more?
There were some creatures that we wanted to put in the film and that we ultimately ran out of money for because they were like really expensive, what ended up just being kind of expensive gags. There was a gag early on when they're stealing, and also like kind of like slow down the pace of the movie. When they steal the horses at the very beginning of the movie after they've escaped from Icewind Dale and they go to those two yurts, we had this bit where we wanted to build like a practical turtle, which is like this like humanoid turtle race. Yeah. And we wanted the turtle to slowly chase them to try to get his horse back. And it was going to be like this like very slow moving chase scene with a turtle just like trying to like get by. And it was like, guys, like this is going to be so expensive. And like at this point in the movie, we kind of just want to get the movie going. And I think everyone was right to tell us like we can't do the turtle. And then we wanted to have a Gripply in the film when Zank goes to the Dragonborn and says, the Dragonborn says, "Jankly," and he says, "Jankly to you, good sir." We wanted that to be a Gripply boy. And then we got the price from Legacy for what it was going to cost to build another fully realized, because we weren't going to do it CG. Like there was no talk of doing this Gripply CG. Like if we're doing a Gripply, it's going to be a puppet, it's going to be a guy, it's going to be puppeteered, like hands being moved by rods and all the stuff. And they were like, oh, how much is this joke going to cost? Oh, we can't afford another really expensive joke because we already had the really expensive joke with the Intellect of Ours, where like we spent so much money designing and modeling and building Intellect of Ours to come scurrying through the scene. And we were like, well, that's a really expensive joke. Like, how many expensive jokes do we get in the movie? Like, can we just have jokes that aren't $1 billion? So the decision was made ultimately to take the Dragonborn and to repurpose Norixius into a beggar and use the same prosthetic, you know. But ultimately, like, I think that's what's so fun about the guys, about John Jonathan, is they just like have a million ideas that you can keep going and you can just keep going forever. But at some point you just can't afford to.
I completely understand that. The turtle sounds hilarious.
Doesn't that sound great? I mean, it's just made me laugh so hard. Like just the realities of like this slow moving action scene. So stupid.
I love it. And I love these like behind the scenes, like moments that we get to hear about. Is there anything with the home entertainment release that are special features that you're really excited for fans to see that will give them a little more insight into like that?
I think actually they did a great job with all the stuff. I think the from Dice to Dragons honoring the lore piece, which is like kind of the behind the scenes piece, is a really good representation of the film and the way it was made. And I think they did a really good job kind of putting that one together. And I think that there is also a couple things in the deleted scenes that'll be kind of fun and kind of nice like surprises. I think people understand why we deleted them. I don't think there'll be a clamoring of like, you messed up, you should have left that in. That's kind of how I always feel. Deleted scenes are funny to me because like I've yet to see one where I'm like, why isn't that in the movie? You know, like I usually am like, oh yeah, no, you should have cut that. That's probably a good call. Good call. So it's always kind of hard when the studio comes to you and they're like, the home video people are like, hey, listen, we want all the deleted scenes, and I'm like, oh no. If we put those out, you'll know we don't know what we're doing. Like, and there's actually, it's funny because yesterday was the 15-year anniversary of Iron Man 1, and
Yeah.
there are still like 3 or 4 deleted scenes from that movie that I don't think will ever be released, like ever, because they were so bad. And we were like, I remember Kevin saying to me like in 2010 or something, we were like, or no, in 2012 we put out like a box set. I was like, should we put the Abu doing laundry deleted scenes out? And Kevin was like, no, we can never put out Abu doing laundry. People will know we don't know what we're doing. Like it'll be embarrassing if they see these scenes. But there was a whole runner in Iron Man 1 where Tony Stark was doing laundry, and I don't think they've ever come out. Like someone should look into it, but I don't think they've ever been seen. Like Tony is doing laundry for the captors, but he's really using the laundry. He's like breaking the laundry, like the washing machine, like stealing parts from it to build the Mark 1 suit. Like it's like absurd. It's so absurd. Like it's wild. But so sometimes deleted scenes are tricky because you're like, I want them to know that we don't know what we're doing. But you know, it happens. Sometimes you don't know. Sometimes you put a deleted scene together and you're like, oh yeah, we had mentioned him in the movie. I don't think we have any that are like total misses like that on this movie where we're like, that should have been in the film. I mean, like in a bad way, like, oh God, what were we thinking? But I don't think you'll see anything in there where you're like, oh, they should have left that in. I'm curious what people think about them.
This was great.
Nice to meet you, Caitlin. I'm sorry for going over. See you later.
Bye.